Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy SoSo, in case you ain't know so, and welcome back to another dope episode of Sports with SoSo. Coming to you live, y'all. This week, the Heat take a commanding 3-1 lead in the series against the Bucks, thanks to Jimmy Butler. Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia delivers some excellent punches and a brutal knockout, and the Marlins win another series on their way to being above 500. It's time to take a ride, y'all. Let's go! What's going on, my G? Today's officially Jimmy Butler Day, dog. Mark it down in the history books. Today's Jimmy Butler Day, dog.
Shouldn't it be last night? Shouldn't it the 24th?
Nah. It can't be yesterday. It can't be the day of the game because, like, you need to commemorate the next day. You know what I mean? Like, today is in remembrance of what happened the previous day. But before we get to all of that, I want to know how you're doing, dog. Everything straight with you, my dog?
Good, bro.
Nice
good.
hat.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. I'm back. I'm back in all facets, celebrating and supporting the teams. I got my Jimmy Butler jersey on. I got my Panthers hat on. I'm ready to rock and roll, kid. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. You definitely are ready to rock and roll. You're definitely repping the home teams today. Even though the Panthers are almost out of it, you know what I mean? But it was expected, right? Facing the number one seed, Boston Bruins. Hasn't been easy for them. Actually down 3-1 right now. Actually, I was actually surprised that they even won a game this series. You know what I mean? Which just, shows how good the Panthers can be when they're clicking on all cylinders. But this series hasn't really gone their way. Lost the first game 3-1, won the second game 6-3, lost the two next games by a total score of 10-4. Like, it hasn't been pretty for this Panthers team, and they got a lot of questions to deal with in the offseason. You know what I mean? They definitely have a lot of questions to deal with in the offseason. But we're here for it. Let's see if the Panthers can steal another victory against the Bruins. They're actually playing tonight, I believe. Excuse me. They're playing tonight, and it's this is Tuesday recording, and it should be an interesting game, right? Should be an interesting game. For the Heat, we got to talk about this game, dog. We got to talk about this game.
I know you've been dying to, so just to recap, since the last time we met, the Heat were up in the last week. They were tied 1-1. We took the first game over there in Milwaukee. They smashed. That's the second game. Then we came back home, game 3.
Yes, and game 3 was a real important game because, like, anybody who's watched NBA playoffs before knows that the team that wins game 3 usually gives himself a better chance to win the entire series, right? Because mathematically speaking, that's a game that has a lot of leverage, right? Having a 2-1 advantage almost always leads to having a 3-1 advantage. And once you're at that point, it's hard to lose another 3 games in a row, to lose a best of 7 series like that. But the Heat, what was interesting that translated from the first 2 games to the third game was the 3-point shot. The 3-point shot was on for Miami in game 1. Same thing for the Bucks in game 2.
Game 2, right.
In game 2, the Bucks were on fire from 3, dog. They couldn't miss. You know what I mean? Drew Holiday had 4 threes himself. That guy, Drew Holiday, is a beast when it comes to offensive talents and skills. And Brook Lopez, we've seen him kill the Heat over and over again. Before when he was a net, now as a Buck. Like, this guy really does cause a lot of problems for us.
His size, bro, his big goofy size, and he's huge,
and he's wide,
huge wingspan, he's a big presence. Yeah,
can really affect a lot of shots when it comes to the paint, protecting the paint, and he's been doing it, very well for the Bucks this series. But game 3, was the game where it was like, man, if the Heat can shoot well, right, and give themselves a chance to be in it, right, to be in the game, keep it close, whatever the case may be, then they would have obviously given themselves a better chance at winning this game. And for me, like, the whole game was impressive. You know what I mean? Like, coming right out the gate, Jimmy has 24 points in the first quarter, breaking or tying yet another record of his, right, for playoff performances. On top of that, the rest of the team really just did enough. We haven't seen the emergence of a solidified second scorer for the Heat yet in this series, right? But what we've seen is little bits and pieces from random guys here and there that adds up to, like, that support.
All we keep doing is losing guys, dude.
Yes,
we lost Tyler Hero, game 1.
Yep.
Now game 3, we lost Victor Oladipo.
to a freak injury, dog.
He's out. So, Jimmy has no choice but to step up and do this. And yeah, we are getting support, but the question, I can't help but to ask the question, like, how long
can it last? And more importantly, who can stay consistent in doing it? You know what I mean? And, we have to give Duncan Robinson his respect. Because in game 2, he hit some big threes. He started off 5 of 5, ended up with 20 points, 5 of 6 from 3-point land, even had a layup, right? This dude made a free throw. Like, this dude has faced a lot of questions, adversity, down talk, you name it, bad publicity. Like, Duncan's have gone through it all this season and even dating back to last season. But he really stepped up when we needed him. And in that first quarter, when nobody else could make a shot, Duncan was getting those assists from Jimmy, right? Because obviously Jimmy's slashing, going to the rim, getting to the basket, finding open guys. Duncan stepped up and hit the threes. He really, and that's what we wanted to see from him. Like, don't go out there and play great defense. No.
That's not what we wanted to see from him.
It's what we needed to see.
100%. That's what you got paid for, homie.
Yeah.
So yes, it is reassuring to see that there's still the remnants of his greatness there.
Yeah, and he's been one of the best 3-point shooters, not only in this series, but in the NBA playoffs as a whole, because of the efficiency that he's doing it at. You know what I mean? It's a big, big help. Albeit in spurts, like we were talking about, but it's a big help to a guy like Jimmy when that guy is doing everything defensively, offensively, even on the fucking bench, like coaching guys up. Like, this dude is really going through it in order to give us the best chance to win. Thankfully for the Heat, we were able to dominate that third game. And in the first half, the Heat really found themselves in a position where they could have just put the game away and keep the Bucks at bay. And even you gotta know that basketball is a game of runs, right? Like, yeah, you could be up 12 points, 15 points, whatever at some point, but that other team that you're facing, they're gonna make a run at some point, right? Like, that just happens in basketball.
Game 3 didn't happen for the Bucks.
It didn't happen.
Thankfully, because of the fact that we had no Jimmy Butler in that fourth quarter.
Yes,
he had 30 points through 3 quarters, but we saw him leave, and we were like, all right, are they gonna make a run here? Our defense kept us in that game and kept that separation. I don't think they ever closed the gap really to give themselves a shot.
Absolutely not. And they really did try, right? Because even before the half, they closed the lead down to, I believe, 6 or 7 points. Same thing in the third quarter. They came out hot, really brought the lead down to like 2 or 1 points and shit. And then the Heat's defense just showed up. And when I say the Heat's defense, it's from the guys that we expect the defense to be good from, right? Caleb Martin played a really great defense game 3. Kyle Lowry had a really good defensive game in game 3. Even Kevin Love, he took a couple of charges, set a bunch of great picks in order to free up Duncan, Bam, Jimmy. Kevin Love did a great job of making his presence felt defensively, right? Bothering some of their shooters in the paint. And ultimately, the defense was the thing that kept us ahead because we had 29 tip balls, forced 18 Bucks turnovers, had 13 steals as a team. Like, those are things that just point at Miami Heat basketball, right? Like, Puello said it the other day. Shout out to DP. Puello said it the other day, right? Like, that's Heat basketball. When you play defense first, second, and third, and allow that to create your offense. And that's exactly what we got in the second half of game 3. He were able to cruise into the fourth quarter comfortably, really put the game away, even without a Jimmy Butler on the court. And it just helped them transition from defense to offense. And we saw Kyle Lowry get some points off of that. Like I said, Caleb Martin played really well that game. He had 12 rebounds, 12 points, 11 rebounds in game 3, ultimately leading to a 121-99 victory for the Heat. And we got some pizza mañana. And then after that game, it was like, well, Giannis is coming back game 4. Right. That was all of the talk. They wanted to save Giannis so he could come back fresh and have some type of immediate impact in game 4. And the way that game 4 started, it definitely felt like the Bucks game plan was working because Giannis came out and already had 9 points in the first quarter. Not only by himself, but also set up another 6 to 7 points for his team where he was driving to the basket, kicking it out, getting an offensive rebound, kicking it out. They would reset, knock down a 3. Drew Holiday would hit a 3, or Brook Lopez hitting a 3. And that shit kind of killed us. And it killed the momentum that the Heat had, albeit that Jimmy Butler had another great first quarter for us, right?
22 points in the first?
Dog. he's averaging, I believe it's 25 points or 23 points in the first quarter of this series. That's wild. For a guy who's averaging 30 plus points for the entire series, above 35 points. Like, this dude is giving it his all. And we knew that as Heat fans, it's like, all right, this team is going to go as far as Jimmy goes. But we never know how far Jimmy can go until we actually see it. And dog, game 4, we saw it every single time. Like, Jimmy was not only the reason why we won that game, he's the reason why we were even in that game. You know what I mean? Because he made some really tough shots, really tough baskets. And even the 3-pointers that he made, 2 of them were contested, and one of them was like in the flow of the offense where he's bringing it down after a turnover that the Bucks had. And even with all of that, dog, we were still down at halftime. You know what I mean? Like, Jimmy's going all out. We're down, I believe, 7 points. Down 11 points to start the fourth quarter after a rough third quarter where he only shot 29%. So at that point, heading into the fourth quarter, you knew that he would need, I don't want to say a miracle, but like they definitely needed some type of, I don't know, like a kickstart, something to really get the momentum going. Some
sort of catalyst.
Yes, thank you. That's a perfect word. Some type of catalyst in order to get the momentum back on their side. And honestly, I think it was the defense, yet again, showing up for the Heat, right? Allowing their defense to turn into offense, to turn into fast break points, to turn into quick advantages for the Heat where they are facing 4-on-3, maybe 3-on-2, 3-on-1, and they're making the Bucks defend extra hard. It really rattled the Bucks, right? Because even on offense, their rhythm was thrown off. Before they were getting clean looks and getting open looks at the basket. Brook Lopez fucking killed us that game. He killed us that game. You know what I mean? That guy was unstoppable. And like you said, his size in the paint is a problem for us. Whether we have Bam, whether we have anybody else on the court, it doesn't matter. He's really taking advantage of his size and his mobility in the paint to continue to punish the Heat. We withstood all of that, dog. We withstood a fucking triple-double from Giannis and still pulled out the game. But it was only because Jimmy Butler broke records. Dog hit 56 points.
I think you mean Hemi.
Hemi?
Hemi Butler.
We're going to have to start calling him Hemi, dog. Well, I said it in the chat, but this guy definitely needs a street named after him, dog. I'm thinking we rename Calle Ocho, you know what I mean, and just name it Jimmy Butler Way, you know what I mean, or Jimmy Butler Ocho, something, like Calle de Jimmy Butler, something. But like this dude is not only engraving himself into the historic books of this franchise, which has a lot of history in it. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about players like Dwayne Wade, Alonzo Mourning, Shaq, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Ray Allen. Like, big names have played here. Hall of Famers have played here. And this dude, Jimmy Butler, has not only taken on the challenge of living up to those standards, but exceeding them, dog. You know what it is to have a record over LeBron James for most points in a playoff game? Like, dog, and that's prime LeBron James that we had down here in those 4 seasons. Prime LeBron James.
Yeah, but LeBron also had more of a supporting cast where he didn't need to drop 55. But he did have multiple instances where he dropped 40 because he needed to.
Yeah, but look, even Jimmy took that because he has 7 40-point games for the Heat now. You know what I mean? Like, again, when you're breaking records that are held by a guy named LeBron James, you know damn well that you're doing something really good and really rare, you know? Dog, I'm at a loss for words for how impressive that performance was. And everybody that was in the chat, everybody that I spoke to about this game and this performance was like, yo, I've never seen anything like that.
My brother, who doesn't watch sports anymore, okay? I reached out to him and I said, did you watch the game? He goes, bro, I don't remember the last time I saw a Heat game, but this was the best Heat game I've ever seen in my life.
It was that?
He said that, he said the last great Heat game that he can recall was Dwayne Wade's epic performance where he came back and won us the game and stood on the scorer's table and said, this is my house. Jimmy had a moment like that. He didn't get on the scorer's table, probably out of respect for Dwayne Wade. He still respects the fact that, what Dwayne did.
He knows who built the house.
Our franchise. But if he would have got up on that scorer's table and said, this is my house, I don't think there would have been anything wrong with that.
Nah, I think Jimmy did it in his own way too, right? Saying, this is my shit. This is my shit. And that, that aggressiveness, that confidence, that belief in himself was, bro, flying through my TV screen. That I even like got chills, like looking at him, like dog, this man is feeling it times 1,000 because he is on one. And yeah, Jimmy's impossible to stop when he's doing that, dog. Impossible to stop. That he had a 41 to 25 point quarter against the Bucks.
Fourth quarter
against the Bucks after being down, like I said, 11 points to start the fourth quarter. So not only we were facing a deficit, we come back and push the lead up in the last 2 minutes of the game where it breaks down. And yeah, the Heat, through timely plays, through really hard effort, through, really good defense, they're able to not only get the lead from the Bucks, but keep the Bucks at bay, you know what I mean? And keep them in check for those last 2-3 minutes. And I must say, one of the most important parts of this game was had by somebody not named Jimmy, and that was Caleb Martin. When he had that offensive rebound that led to him hitting another three. I think it was about 2 minutes and 17 seconds left in the game. Somebody puts up the three. I don't know if it was Martin himself, but they put up the three, misses. The ball is ball is going out of bounds towards the Heat bench. This dude runs across the court to dive to that ball, throw it back in bounds to Jimmy, who's right there, gets it right back from Jimmy on the side three, and hits it right in Giannis's face. To again keep the lead and the momentum on the Heat side. Those are hustle plays that again equal Heat culture. You know what I mean? Like I watched all of these playoff games, dog. You don't really see that between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? You don't see the Suns diving for shit like that. But you see the Heat players going at it for any type of loose ball because they know that every little detail is going to make the difference against a team like this. Yeah, it's great that we talk about the win and the victory and the records and all that shit, but we have to recognize also that like we're doing this against a number 1 seed, Milwaukee Bucks, who was probably the best team in the NBA for their entire season. Some could argue the Celtics, whatever, but this is one of the best teams in the NBA. There are no slackers on that team. Chris Middleton is a beast. Drew Holiday is a beast. We've talked about Brook Lopez and his effect on the game. A beast. And like I said earlier, we withstood a Giannis triple-double. Like, that's not easy to do, dog. I'm pretty sure that guy has a really good record whenever he scores a triple-double. And he just took a playoff loss in a disheartening fashion, right? Because the way it went down was definitely a heartbreaker for the Bucks. You know what I mean? Because if we're feeling that emotion on the Heat side, you got to think about the opposite and how the Bucks are feeling like, fuck, we had that game and now we lost it. It was an amazing game. Honestly, one of the best Heat games that I've seen in a real long time. And man, I don't know what else to say but pizza mañana, dog.
Nah, dog, it's a night and day difference between this current state of this Heat team. Same team, but it's a different mindset that they're playing with right now. It's win or go home. You know, the whole season it wasn't there. We've seen them lose close games they should have won. Underperforming all year long. Jimmy's a whole different animal in the playoffs, and we've known that. We've known that when the bubble, when he was exhausted, hanging over. We've seen the memes. You know what I mean?
We've seen it.
He leaves it all out there, and if anybody ever doubted that, he just proved that once again on Monday night. But now we got a 3-1 lead on the Bucks going back to Milwaukee. Do we close out the series in this next game, or does it take a couple more?
I think it's very possible, dog. And the reason why I say that is because it's what I talked about in the beginning when we were talking about the supporting cast. We don't know who's going to show up to be that supporting cast for the Heat, which leads me to my BAM talk, which I'm about to get into. But any given night, you can get an awesome night from Caleb. You can get an awesome night for Lowry. You can get an awesome night from Duncan. You can get an awesome night from Gabe Vincent, Strus, right? It just feels like those guys are realizing the severity of the moment, right? And stepping up and saying, this is not about me. This is not about the Heat. I got to help this man right here, Jimmy Butler, do whatever I can do in order for us to win this game. Because if he needs me to dive for that ball, I'm going to dive for it. If he needs me to set this pick a little bit stronger and hold it for half a second, then that's what I'm going to do. That team looks completely different than what we saw throughout the regular season. You're 100% right. And it's perfect timing. So, which leads me to believe that we can win this game in Milwaukee on Wednesday night, 9:30. If Bam shows up, that's the key to this game for me on Wednesday. Is Bam going to show up and provide that real second help, that second scorer type play for Jimmy Butler? Is he going to be able to do that? We haven't seen it. If anything, we've seen Bam look timid, scared, unsure of himself, no confidence in his abilities, right? You know it's bad when my old man is texting me like, yo, this dude is scared. Bam is scared of Brook Lopez. He's scared of Bobby Portis. He doesn't want to take it on those guys. For my old man to have texted me that just shows me, because he's obviously watched a lot more basketball than I have in my life. He can tell when somebody's playing scared. And Bam, and if you've watched the game, you can tell that Bam is playing timid, apprehensive, whatever the word you want to use. But for us to get that game 5 on the road, you're going to need Bam to step up. Now, I can't shit on Bam too much because defensively, he's been there. Grabbing rebounds, he's making his presence felt in the paint, right? Making Lopez work for points, making layups and attempts for anybody else difficult. He had a very good block on Giannis in the fourth quarter when they were trying to make that comeback. I think with like 47 seconds left. But we need Bam to do it on both sides, because he has the ability, and the Bucks are letting him shoot the ball.
He averaged 20 points a game this season
while shooting 50% from the field.
Where has that been in the postseason so far? I know it's been only a few games.
I mean, it's been more than a few games, dog. We're talking about game 5 coming up, dog. You know what I mean?
Plus the 2 play-in.
Plus the 2 play-ins, correct. You know what I mean? So he's had time to acclimate himself to this playoff energy, right? If the Heat are going to win this game on the road, it's going to be because of Bam. Obviously, Jimmy's going to do Jimmy, dog. Like, I don't even know why we talk about what to expect from Jimmy, because we know what to expect from Jimmy. But if the Heat really do want to steal this game and steal this series in Milwaukee, it's going to have to be on the strength of Bam. Because then that allows everybody else to do the little bit, right, without having to score 15, 16, 20 points and just do their job. Coño, I got an open 3. I'm going to take it. I'm going to knock it down. Hey, no problem. Hey, I can get to the paint because there's doubling Jimmy or they're doubling Bam on the pick and roll. Cool. I'm going to get this layup and score it that way. That is the only way that I can see us having this type of game. Because let's be honest, dog, we can't expect Jimmy to score 56 points again, dog, or 50 point again, dog. Right. Like, you're asking a lot on the road. You know what I mean? So let's see. I really do think that the Heat have an excellent chance at winning this game 5, because the Bucks are backs against the wall, and sometimes when things don't go your way and you're down 3-1, that mental part of the game where it tells you like, dog, you ain't got no shot, might as well just give it up. That can creep into an NBA team. And if it does, then the Heat will have an excellent chance to win this game. But in my opinion, we're going to need Bam. We're going to need Bam. Bro, even fucking Lowry, who's a guy we shitted on all season, right? Even he's had some type of contributions. He's made some threes. He had 2 important steals in game 4 in the fourth quarter. Like, he has some real good assists. Like, he's doing the best that he can for the amount of job that he has, right? It's not like we're asking him to go out there and do a bunch of stuff. No, do the little stuff. He's been doing that. Caleb Martin, same thing. He's been our most consistent bench player, in my opinion, this year. We're going to need Bam. We're going to need Bam to win game 5. Wednesday night, 9:30. Plenty of time for them to get rest, run some extra plays, you know what I mean? Check some extra film. Figure out a way to get Bam going early in the game so he can feel that type of rhythm and just go from there. If they can't get game 5 on Wednesday, then I definitely see them getting game 6 at home, because the Heat know that that's their game 7. And they're not going to let themselves fall short with an opportunity to close out the series at home. Spo won't let that happen, dog. You know what I mean? Like, Spo will reiterate to this team, like, hey, we need to get this win, because if we don't, we're going home. You know what I mean? So, yeah, let's see if it gets to game 6. I really feel confident about game 5, but I really do think that it's going to be on the strength of Bam. Without Bam, I don't know, man. You're asking a lot from Jimmy to hit 45 points again and keep us in it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Let's see, man. Wow, Pizza Mañana is on fire lately, dog. It's on fire lately. And you know what else is on fire?
What's that?
The Sports with SoSo Heat playoff post-game recaps, my boy.
Gotta work on that name.
Yeah, it's kind of long, but hey, it is what it is. It tells you what it is. It tells you what it is. And you know what? It's an immediate reaction to how the game has unfolded, right? Instead of just waiting for the podcast to come out, you get a quick 15-minute video of me just breaking down the Heat game and giving you guys my opinion on what happened or what was the critical parts of the game. So make sure you guys are tuning in. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube channel, hit that like button, drop a comment, and let us know your thoughts on the game as well, man. We love to interact with our fans and our viewership. So head on over to that YouTube page. Check it out. Let me know what you think.
Good plug.
Thanks, man. I've been working on them.
I like it.
Oh, man. You know, I want to talk about the fight now, because the fight between Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia this weekend, because we both watched it obviously separately, but it was such a hyped up fight. Everybody was in the building for it. Tons of people that I know were making bets and side bets and group chats. No, I got my money on Tank. No, I got my money on Garcia. And for me, it was just like, dog, I ain't got my money on nobody. I'm just dying to see who wins this fight, because the matchup was so perfect, right? It was a super fast, tall, skilled boxer versus a short, stocky, powerful boxer. Both of them who have knockout power, both of them who have excellent boxing skills, excellent defensive skills. And one of those things we're going to give. And for me, the key to the fight was, you know, is Ryan Garcia going to be able to get his punches off in a manner without having to take that much damage from Tank, because we know that Tank is very selective when he throws his punches and his combinations. And the fight started out that way, you know what I mean? You had Ryan Garcia go out there and work the jab. Obviously, the first round was pretty much a draw, right? Because both of those guys were still filling each other out.
No, not even. I would even argue you can give the first round more to Garcia, Ryan, right? Because he was pushing the pace. He was pushing the pressure in that round. And Tank was, you know, being Tank. He was just kind of sitting there and like waiting for his shot. And in that second round, Ryan kept pushing the pace, and Tank got his first shot where he dropped him.
And he landed that left hook flush on Ryan's nose, dog. And it really caught Ryan by surprise. I'm not saying that that's the reason why he got knocked down. I think the punch itself was precise, perfectly timed, and he caught him so close to him that he was pretty much slipping into him. And when Gervonta caught him, it was like, yeah, that was right on the button. Of course, anybody's going down. But you're right. Ryan was ahead on the card at that point, because he was pushing the pace of the fight. He was using his jab effectively. He was out punching or out throwing Gervonta Davis at that point in the fight. But you make one small mistake against Gervonta Davis, guess what? You're going to feel that punch, and you're going to probably touch the canvas. That's exactly what happened to Ryan. He felt that power and couldn't withstand it.
And dude, and Ryan, you know, great fighter. You know, it was a great fight, I thought, in the end. You know, but Ryan's 24, Tank's 28. You can see the difference.
The inexperience,
in
right?
that fight. Not necessarily
maybe that's too strong.
The inexperience, but more so the more experience that Tank had. More real life situations where he's been in. You know, he had more of a mature approach, I thought, in the sense of like he was more calculated, and Ryan was kind of out there, I guess, like the press conferences and the beef and everything. He really felt like he had something to prove.
True.
And sure, he might have, you know, but at the end of the day, Tank approached it like a professional in his craft, man. And it looked like he was more in control of the game plan of what he was trying to accomplish out there. And, you know, he hurt him. He hurt him multiple times. He was hurt. And then we get down to the seventh round, and there's an exchange, and Ryan goes down.
But wait, before we get to that, I wanted to ask you, because I had been thinking about it, and I didn't include it on the show notes, but after the knockdown, right, you saw Ryan get a little bit timid, right, in round 3, round 4.
Because he felt that power.
He felt that power, right? So Gervonta was still in his game, which is that experience that you're talking about, right, where he's like, I'm going to stay patient because the shot's coming. I know I caught him, right, so I can catch him. I know the better shot is coming. And in that third and fourth round, Gervonta was bullying Ryan, right? Walking forward, walking him down, like kind of chasing him around the ring. And Ryan kept his right hand up. He definitely didn't want to feel that power again and just didn't throw as much. He was very reserved. And then in the 5th and 6th round, you can see Ryan kind of getting his bearings again. Credit to him, because a lot of guys would have felt that power and stayed down, number one, right? Credit to Ryan, got back up, finished the round, and was willing to fight with Gervonta Davis. It's not like he just ran around the ring for the next 4 rounds or whatever, right? But in the 5th and 6th round, you saw Ryan kind of get his confidence back and start to throw a little bit more. And caught Gervonta Davis a couple of times in that dirty boxing, right?
He tagged him up.
He tagged him up, hit him with a couple of rights and shit. And I didn't expect him to land those right-hand punches, because I'm sure that Gervonta would have been aware of that. He was more looking for the left to be that punch.
Right, but when you got that reach advantage on him, you throw enough with that kind of speed, you're gonna land a couple.
You're gonna land.
It wasn't enough.
It wasn't, dog. In that 7th round, like, you can tell that Gervonta felt the momentum shift in the fight, and he just started to apply more and more and more pressure. And interestingly enough, before he knocked him down or ultimately knocked him out, he had landed like a really good left hook to the face, right? Stunned him, but Ryan was able to move back, kind of gather himself and keep moving. The body shot that he hit him with was so perfectly placed that everybody in the crowd and even people watching it on TV, right? They were kind of like, yo, that was just a whatever punch. How the hell did Ryan go down off of that? Literally hit him in the liver. You see Ryan kind of stay in it for a second, grimace, like it hurt him, and then take another step back. And when he took that other step back, you could tell his body was failing him, because his face, like, he still had his hands up and wanted to go on, but the body was like, nah, Papa, we need to take a break. And he said it himself. When he took that knee thinking, all right, let me catch my breath, let me recuperate right here from this body shot, get back up, and we'll go back at it. But again, it was so hard. It didn't look like it was a hard punch because it wasn't that close. But that's just how incredible Gervonta Davis's power is, that he hit him from a good distance in the liver and completely shut down Ryan Garcia, got the KO that way.
My only problem with the situation, and granted, I'm not a boxer, I don't take damage, I've never been punched in the liver by Tank Garcia.
Please, Lord, don't let nobody punch me in the liver.
But, being a fighter, we expect more. I expected more. I just felt like I didn't even see an attempt for him to try to get up. Even when Tank was looking at him going, come on, get up, let's do this. I didn't really see an attempt. I feel like he kind of threw in the white flag, the white towel. He was just like, I'm down here and I think this is the end of it. I think I can't go on any further.
Yeah.
And just a little, like, give us a little something where you try and you come right back down. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like I didn't see that from him. And that was a little concerning to me.
I mean, I think it's because of again, if we look at it in normal speed, right? It doesn't look like a vicious body shot.
I had to watch the replay about 4 times before I finally saw the actual blow.
Thank you.
And it wasn't a wound up punch.
No.
It was a short, little, like, perfectly timed jab right exactly in the money where you needed it to. Ryan takes 2 protective jabs as he's stepping back, getting distance, and immediately just dropped down to his knee. So that had to hurt.
Absolutely.
But no matter how bad, bro, unless you're unconscious and you can't get up, that's because you're unconscious. Make the effort, I think.
I think he wanted to make the effort. I really do think that he wanted to make the effort, because you said it. Gervonta looked over him and was like, dog, you need to get up. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure Gervonta thought that it wasn't that bad himself. But Ryan's eyes were like, dog, I want to kill this guy. But he couldn't get up. The body was just like, hey, we're not moving right now. You know what I mean? And that's what it was, dog.
Yeah, but
I get it. Like, if you're that dog, maybe you want to see the dog in Ryan to get up and possibly take some more damage, right? But I just don't think that, he could have continued. Obviously, the body was like, Papa, we're staying down here. You know what I mean? And B, I think he realized in that specific moment, like, I'm outmatched. You know what I mean? Like, I'm outmatched. I can give this guy my best and maybe even a little bit more than my best, and it's still not going to be enough to overcome the skills that this guy has. So it was kind of, I don't want to say a business decision, but like, that's his brain working. Obviously, we're talking about 10 seconds that's happening here while all of this is going on. His body's failing him. He's feeling immense pain. probably can't even get up, still conscious of he still has another 5 rounds to go of this, right? And maybe he just knew that, man, my body's not going to last. And smart credit to him, bro, because a lot of people, bro, they probably would have got up and ended up getting destroyed and humiliated by Gervonta Davis. It's kind of whack, but for me, it's a smart way to go out because you know what? That rematch with Gervonta Davis is not completely off the books. You might get another shot at him. And even for other opponents that you're facing down the line, you don't want to take unnecessary damage in a boxing match that you know you're not going to win. And I think it just came to a conclusion for him right then and there. Like, bro, my body's telling me no, my mind is telling me yeah, but everything within me is saying you can't go on, you know? And he wanted to. He said it after the interview. He wanted to, but Gervonta fucking said it. Bro, I touched him and he felt that power. And it was a wrap.
And that's why I had Tank finishing that fight early, dog. I said it last week. When we had Boy on the show, I didn't see this going past 9 rounds. You know, it happened in 7, even earlier than I thought. But Tank finished him, and
it's crazy because he predicted the 7th.
Yeah, right before the fight.
Wild. Shout out to Gervonta Davis and shout out to Ryan Garcia too, man. Like what these two gentlemen did for the sport of boxing is going to be remembered in the history books forever, right? Because this could be the turning point for boxing to say, let's get back to that era where superstars fought superstars and the record didn't fucking matter. Whether you had 1 loss, 0 losses, 2 losses, none of that shit matters. It all matters when you guys fight each other. Who's the best the night that you guys fight? And that's what these guys did, man. They put on a hell of a performance. It was really a great fight between the both of them. But it's just Davis's power is too much for almost anybody in that division, which is crazy because now we got an even equal super fight between Devin Haney and Lomachenko, Vitaly Lomachenko, for Haney's undisputed titles I won in the lightweight division. That's coming up in May 30th. Now I just expect to see fights like this happen every 2-3 months. I want the best guy fighting the best guy who has the belts. I want the best guy fighting the best guy who's number 1 contender. I want the best guy who beat both of those guys to fight the best guy who won the other 2 fights. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what we're going to start to see in boxing. We're going to start to see the best of the best fight each other. Even after the fight, a lot of rumors even started going around back about the Errol Spence versus Crawford fight. And Spence tweeting out like, dog, I need to get in on this because I can't continue to wait to make boxing shows because the money's not right. My promoter wants this. His venue wants this. No, we got to do stipulations for fuck all that. Fuck all that. You think you're better than me? Let's get to it. And let's get in the ring and we're going to figure it out. And that's exactly what these guys did. Davis came on top. Who knows what happens if these guys meet again. And what weight class, right? Because Ryan's weight class is normally 145. He came down to the catch weight of 136, was weighing in at around 140, and he didn't look normal. It didn't look like he had his power. It didn't look like he had any of his strength. That weight cut or that weight clause was definitely an effect, a desired effect that Gervonta Davis wanted, and it worked. And he got the victory by knockout. Let's see what happens in this next fight versus Devin Haney and Lomachenko, because I feel like the winner of that definitely faces Gervonta Davis, which then sets up the fight between Crawford and Spence to go down, right? And then make a super fight with either the loser facing the loser of Davis versus Haney or Lomachenko, or the winners facing the winners. Like, it just creates a lot of possibilities in the boxing world to make superstars fight before the end of the year. You can get at least 2 more superstar fights before the end of the year. I think that'll be amazing for the sport, man.
It needs it.
Yeah,
it
man.
Definitely needs it, man. With the UFC, doing its thing, and organizations like Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship doing their thing. I mean, boxing needs to do something to make sure that they're always the top dog.
Absolutely, man. And they can do it. This fight has the foundation set up for future fights to continue to happen like that, man. And hopefully we get to see it. Like I said, Devin Haney versus Lomachenko, May 30th. That's going to be a banger. Undisputed title on the line, dog. Can't wait for that one. I cannot wait for that one, man. We give the Marlins a lot of shit, Joel, dog. And when we talk about them, I feel like sometimes we don't give them the love or the caring that they kind of want. But a lot of that is deserved because they don't go out there and win. They trade our best players. They do stupid things like put a freaking statue in the middle of center field. You know what I mean? Like, They do a bunch of shit to piss the Marlins fan off. And
that thing is still around, right?
Yeah, they just moved it to the outside, in the back where nobody really walks by. Smart decision by them.
It's not the centerpiece of our home run celebration anymore.
Thank God. But like, all we wanted as Marlins fans, dog, is to have a competitive team. To go out there and put a product on the field or on the TV where we can enjoy what's happening. We don't expect these guys to go out there and win every single game, right? But we expect them to be competitive. And that's what I think we're seeing this season, albeit early season, right? But that's what I think we're seeing from the Marlins. They're 12-11 on the season, just coming off back-to-back losses, one against the Philadelphia, I think they lost the last game to the Cardinals. No, what am I saying? The Guardians. And then they lost to Atlanta to start the 4-game series against them. But prior to that, they've won 3 other last series. They faced the Philadelphia team that's really good, spent a lot of money, beat them. Faced the Arizona team that's pretty good, has some real good major league talent, won that series. Faced San Francisco coming in from the West Coast at home, won that series. I can't remember the last time the Marlins won 3 series in a row, dog. You know what I mean? And this is coming from a guy who's kind of into stats, likes the Marlins, and pays attention to them from time to time. These guys, I can't remember the last time these guys won 3 series in a row.
I don't remember the last time we started off the season over 500 like this.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's
granted, we're only 1 game over, but I mean, usually we're 4, 5, 6 games behind.
Correct.
Through this point of the season, through 20 games or whatever.
Correct. And you know what? I think back to what Boyo was saying, right, on the last episode, where he said that the pitching is going to stand out for us, and it's really been the case. Even the closer, AJ Puck, he's come in and made a huge difference. A huge difference. He has 4 saves on the season, no blown saves on the season.
Something we had a problem with last year.
Huge problem that cost us a lot of games and cost Sandy a lot of games, right? Because there were games where he pitched great and we ended up blowing the game in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. Now we have a what it seems to be like a certified closer in AJ Puck. 1.00 ERA so far on the season. 9 strikeouts, only has 2 walks. Again, 4 saves. None of them have been blown yet. This guy has really solidified what we've been able to do in the bullpen. And those are, if you look at the scores that the Marlins games are that they're winning, it's 4-2, 3-1, 5-3. Where they're getting a lead in the 7th, 8th, 9th inning, and they're holding on to it, bringing in this guy, bringing in the holder, and getting the victory. That's why we got to 12-11, which normally, like you said, we'd be 6-11 or 17 right now, some shit like that. Just looking completely disarrayed, no type of momentum, no type of team chemistry,
no consistency.
But we have that right now on the pitching side. Even with Luzardo has been killing it. Even though he has a 3.62 ERA right now, he also has a 2-1 record, 32 strikeouts on the season. Being our established best pitcher right now because Sandy has been off to start the season and he's getting back into form. The pitching working itself out was something that we didn't see coming through, right? Like we knew we were going to get good stuff from Sandy. Everybody else was the question mark. And it seems like so far this season, the question mark is not really warranted when it comes to the pitching staff. And to, compliment that, we've gotten some really good timely hitting. What's his dude's name? Luis Arez. He's been killing him. Has a 444 batting average right now, leading the majors, 32 hits, still in batting champ mode. He's been outstanding for the Marlins, right? And we usually have that one player that's doing really well and nobody else is doing good. No, but Jazz is right behind him, batting 362. Doing a great job so far as the plate goes. Still learning the position of center field and still getting accustomed to that.
He's doing fine.
But he's doing fine, right? And, Jorge Soler leading the team with 5 home runs. That's a guy that we were like, man, this guy needs to have a 20-run home run season at the very least. And for him to have 5 already in these 23 games and being in one of the leaders for RBIs on the team is really important because it provides some type of stability to that offensive lineup.
But we're still missing there, bro. For instance, just, yesterday, by the time you're hearing this 2 days ago, in that first game against Atlanta, we were hitless through the first 7 innings of the game.
Yeah.
It took a single, I think, by Segura in the 7th or 8th inning to get us our first hit.
Yep.
How? Why?
Sometimes we don't have it. I just think that they're going to struggle with the consistency.
Not a single hit.
Yeah, dog. They're going to struggle.
7 innings.
They're going to struggle throughout the season as far as the consistency in hitting, but that's because it could be a factor of things. But I think a lot of that has to do with the lineup, right? Like who's batting in what position, right? You can't expect Jazz and Luis to go out there and get all the hits. Other people have to step up and get some timely hitting too. We saw earlier in the season, right? In the first 2-3 weeks, Gary Cooper was killing him, and he's leading the team with 11 RBIs.
And we saw it last year from Gary Cooper.
Yes,
we need to make sure that he's healthy.
Correct, because when he plays really well, and obviously being a left-handed bat helps a lot for this team, right? Just continue to figure it out. The Marlins, all I really want them to do is continue to figure it out, because if they can withstand this type of commitment to staying consistent, then this season's going to be a success for them, right? They're going to end up above 500. They're going to end up, necessarily not in the wild card spot, but definitely in the wild card hunt, right? Like 5 games back or 4 games back, whatever. And then we get Sandy to roll around and pick up some wins for us that way, match him up with Luzardo. AJ Puk continues to do his thing, and the team has something that they can build on. And you said it in the last episode. Maybe that can lead to a trade, right? Where they bring in an extra bat, bring in an extra pitching prospect or something like that. But for me, as a Marlins fan, and I'm sure you feel the same way, and everybody listening, like, just make it entertaining. And lately, it's been entertaining. When the Marlins lose, they're getting smoked out. But when they win, they're putting up runs, they're putting up big hits, and they're making great defensive plays. And if you're watching the games, whether at home or in the ballpark, you're getting your money's worth, dog. Albeit it's a cheap ticket, but you're getting your money's worth, right, dog, from this Marlins team.
And it's good, to see that, Skip Schumacher, first year, manager for the team. We just lost Mattingly, who is the winningest, Marlin, I think, that we've had.
Correct.
Or manager that we've had for the Marlins or whatever. And what did he really accomplish? Aside from that one little season where he made it to the postseason with, and during the pandemic and whatnot, Mattingly didn't really accomplish
a whole lot,
and so far, it's reassuring as a fan, only a month into the season, to see, brand new manager, but he seems to have a cohesive unit for the most part, at least they're going out there and they're playing to win games, and it's looking good right now. So,
I mean,
we can't worry about anything else. We know our division is stacked.
True.
We know the rest of the division, is going to be coming for us, but we got to worry about what we can control, and what we can control is how we go out there and play night in and night out.
Yeah. And I think you're right. Like Schumacher is doing the best that he can, right? It's not easy being a first-time manager, replacing a legend like Don Mattingly. Even though he didn't win a lot down here, he's still a Hall of Fame coach, somebody who commands respect, right, in the clubhouse, and is going to hold players accountable. I just feel like the Marlins are responding to Schumacher, right? Like they look like they're having fun. They look like they want to play hard. They look like they want to play for the manager and each other, which is what we really want to see. And that's the base foundation, or the most basic foundation that you would want when you're building a baseball team, right? You want to make sure that there's camaraderie between the team, that there's, no personal issues, or I don't like this guy. This guy is doing this, or this guy doesn't take.
You don't need that, bro.
Pitch.
When you're trying to win a championship, that's the last thing you need is toxic environments.
Exactly. And if the Marlins can find a way under Schumacher to build a healthy atmosphere in the locker room, then it's going to bode well. And we've seen the results so far this season. It's already been our best start to a season in the last 5 years. In the last 5 years, this has been the best start to a season that we've had. And it can continue. They're playing tonight as we record. You got Hoeing. Yes, that's his last name. Hoeing's pitching against Morin for the Braves. And then on Wednesday, by the time you guys are hearing this, you got Alcantara trying to get his first win of the season and go out there and dominate the Braves. And the cool shit is that when the Marlins have played at home, they've done really well. On the road, it's been a little bit of a struggle, but when they've been at home, man, they've been playing really well. And we're going to have a good home stand coming up. We got 3 games against the Cubs and then another 3 games against the Braves. Obviously, we'll break that down more as we come, or we'll get closer to that. But this series against the Braves is going to be I don't want to say a telltale sign, but it's definitely going to be something to look at and be like, can they hang with a team that's as good and as talented as the Braves?
The Braves always got our number, though.
Always got our number. That's why we hate them. The Mets, we hate the Mets. We hate Philadelphia. Like, we hate those teams because of how good they are and how much, a challenge it is for us to play them and to ultimately beat them. let's see. I just want them to continue to win series. You continue to win series, then that's going to put you well above 500, and it's going to keep you in some type of wild card race. Like I said, you don't need to be leading the wild card, but damn it, be in that little picture. Be in that little picture when ESPN and MLB Network show it.
In the hunt.
Marlins, right there. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I watch. You know what I mean? Keep me entertained. And so far, the Marlins have done that. Can't complain about that, man. Before we wrap up, we got to talk about something else that was entertaining this weekend. We were at BKFC 38 live at the Hollywood Hard Rock and Casino, where we saw that Wing face off against Daniel Strauss, and in the main event, and we saw another the co-main event between Jake Brutal Bostwick versus Isaac the Honey Badger Doolittle, and both of those fights were just amazing. I mean, all of the fights were badass, right? Like, we saw some wars out there, dog, and some nasty knockouts. Shout out to Renee Whiteboy, representing Hialeah.
Hialeah champ.
Yes, sir. And HD, win. Dog, representing Broward County, dog.
HD had a big win.
Justin had his debut event as well, dog.
There was an interesting night, man. A lot of good fights. There was some controversial moments, some could say.
Yes.
Including like those last two fights, the last fight between Strauss and Win, where it went to the overtime when nobody knew. Like, we were like, wait, what? Like, what is happening here? And then the fight before, where we thought it should have gone to overtime, it didn't. It ended up in a draw altogether. So like, there was a little bit of controversy there, but all around, great product. I mean, we're all in on the BKFC. Anytime they're here in Florida, especially at the Hard Rock, we're out there. We're going to be out there. We're going to be covering it. And shout out to you, man. You got some good sound bites, some good post-fight interviews with some of the guys, man. I saw that on the channel this weekend.
Hell yeah. Stuff. Hell yeah. If you haven't heard about BKFC or Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, like, A, you're sleeping. B, you need to go check them out right now, because when they put on these cards, man, they're super exciting. Every fight that we saw on Saturday night or Friday night was exciting. Dog. There wasn't one fight where I was like, let's go get a drink, or I'm going to go use the restroom. I was like, nah, I'm going to wait for this round to be over. I'm going to run to the bathroom and then I'll run right back. But yeah, that extra round between Strauss and Win was weird, right? Because we saw the crowd get up, like people were kind of leaving and shit.
And then I saw Luis Palomino, who is the reigning middleweight champ,
correct,
for BKFC. And this guy is a dog. I mean, if you've seen Palomino fight,
Miami legend,
you know what you're gonna get. But I saw he actually shared on his Instagram that he had scored the fight 3-2 in favor of Strauss. And he thought that there was no need for it. He thought Strauss won the fight, but I don't know, man, because that was putting on that pressure on Strauss that whole fight. He was, he looked, even though he had come back off after, an 18-month hiatus or whatever it was, 16-month hiatus, boy, didn't miss a beat, man. He was pressuring Strauss the whole time. He hurt him. He had him hurt. Don't get me wrong. Strauss also got his in, but I didn't think it was that clear cut that Strauss won that fight.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. When you and I were talking about it, obviously, while the fight's going on, and one of the main things that we shared was like, man, that's really pushing the pace. That win was really pushing the pace, pushing the action, really working the inside, right? Working the body, slowing down Strauss. And it looked like Strauss was just allowing himself to, I don't want to say get hit, but like just allowing that to work without returning any punishment. Once they got separated and he had some space, he did land a couple of jabs. He did land a couple of crosses and some rights, but it wasn't enough. I really thought that won that fight. He deserved to win that fight because of the pace and the forward movement that he was initiating throughout the whole fight. Just looked like he wanted it more and went out and got it. So shout out to that win. That beat that, one of the great fucking nicknames in BKFC, man. And it was an impressive victory. Shout out to Strauss, like we talked about, coming off that layover from being in Bellator and fighting in BKFC. It's not easy. Because it's definitely a different type of fight. And it looked like that experience in bare knuckle definitely gave him the edge and ultimately won him the fight. I wanted to ask you, though, who did you think won the co-main event between Jake Bostwick and Isaac Doolittle?
That's tough, man. That's a tough one. I needed to see another round.
Yeah.
Because Bostwick was a beast, bro, but the Honey Badger, he just kept coming, bro. There's a reason he's got that nickname. They don't call you the Honey Badger for no reason.
For sure. And I think
that's a fight that, could be a main event, fight, and, let's run that back ASAP. As soon as those guys are good again, whether it's 6 months or whatever, like run that back, because that was a fight, right? That was probably a more interesting fight than the Strauss and Win fight, if I'm being honest.
Absolutely. The intensity in that fight was through the roof, you know, and they ultimately won fight of the night. Deservedly so. Both of those guys put on a fucking hell of a performance. You know what I mean? I think what made the difference in that fight, and we kind of talked about it that night, was the knockdown. When
they both knocked each other down.
Yes, but
Boston got knocked down early.
The early one is what I'm talking about. When Boston went down, I feel like that 10-8 round kind of gave that extra point to Isaac to kind of keep him, you know, ahead on the cards. But then, boom, in the fourth round, we see Jake put on an amazing performance, really go out there and push the pace of the fight and knock Isaac down himself. And then in that fifth round, it was like both of these guys are like, all right, we're going to stand right here. You're going to punch me. I'm going to punch you. And one of us is going to win this fight. And when they called the fight a unanimous draw, I was like, damn. I felt like they both got robbed, right? Because one of those guys deserved to win the fight. Right. In my opinion, I had Jake winning the fight by very little margins, very, very little margins. Right. And I'm not a scorecard guy. You know, I'm not a judge or anything like that. So, and I wasn't that close to the ring to really give my opinion on that. But I thought that Jake won that fight by a slim margin. Whoever would have been named the winner would have justifiably won that fight, dog, in my opinion, because nothing really separated the two. And I guess that's why they went with the draw. But I just felt like one of those guys deserved to win that fight, and I really do hope that they run him back a lot sooner than later.
Yeah, considering what they did in the final night, in the final fight with the overtime, like they should have. That's what exactly they should have done. Hey, the judges scored this an even draw. The fighters have agreed to go to another round. We're gonna go another 2 minutes here.
Yeah.
See what happens, bro. This is the deciding round. Forget everything else that happened. Either there's a knockout or we're really going to score it. And if we can't score anything else but equal, then at that point, all right, cool. Draw is cool. But like we did everything in our power.
Right. And at least you give these guys an opportunity, right, to put it into their own hands and not let the judges decide, right? But ultimately, it was a great night. If you haven't already, go check out all the post-fight interviews. They're pretty short, 2-3 minutes. Something you guys can go watch and enjoy and just kind of get the thoughts of what it is to be a BKFC fighter, man. You know, when we talked to Steven Townsend, shout out to Steven.
Tomahawk.
The Tomahawk. He said it, you know, like not everybody's built for bare knuckle fighting. And it takes a different type of boxer, fighter, whatever you want to call it, to go into that arena, into that ring and feel that power and not only take it, but dish it out as well. So shout out to all the guys who performed that night. The prelims were fucking on fire too. We got there early and we got to watch those as well. Man, BKFC is definitely growing. Definitely an exciting sport. We noticed that it was a much more packed event than the last one that we went to.
Every time we go, there's more and more people.
More and more people, man. It's amazing.
They keep doing these cards. I mean, this Friday, bro. This Friday they got.
Oh my god.
They got
Chad Mendez, Alvarez fighting. You got
Platinum Mike Perry is the main event, but they also
Luke Rockhold.
And they got Ben Rothwell on that card as well. Like they got a pretty good card coming up this Friday night too. So they're putting out a good product, man. They're definitely building up their roster and their teams. And it's exciting, man. I definitely won't miss one here.
Absolutely, we won't. We definitely won't, man. Make sure you guys are tuned in to BKFC. Follow those guys on Instagram. Check them out. Watch the fights this weekend, this Friday. It's gonna be worth it. Trust me, your boy SoSo is putting you on right now. You can't say I didn't tell you, man. But I guess it's time, Joel. It's time to tell the people to tell a friend.
To tell another friend.
To tell one more friend, fool.
To tell everybody they know.
To tell everybody that knows them about this amazing podcast and how you guys have to go to our YouTube page, hit the subscribe button, drop a like or drop a comment on our latest video, hit the like button and share that, man. It's the only way that you guys can show us some love on social media and really help us out and help us grow the show, man.
It doesn't cost you anything, but it means the world to us.
Absolutely, man. And drop a 5-star review there while you're at it. And until next time, y'all.
Peace.